Hercule Poirot, I've found something. I've looked at it from every which way. I am the smartest person I ever met, and I can't figure it out, so I came to the second.
You are up to something, my friend.
I've seen a million of these so-called psychics, each one a fake.
I do not believe in psychics.
Come with me to a seance. Spot the con I can't.
Detective, you are here to discredit me, but I can talk to the dead.
I'd give all I have to hear my daughter's voice.
If someone wants to be heard, we are here. Listening.
Mama? Felicia? What is happening?
You can't trap us here.
Somebody is dead. No one shall leave this place until I know who did it.
A ghost killed her.
There must be a rational answer for all of this.
Just admit that you are up against something bigger than you.
You were saying?
Something in this house tried to kill me.
Don't look at me like I'm a suspect. We're old friends.
Every murderer is somebody's old friend.
No one shall leave until I find if the living have been killed by the dead.
You have been hiding here all this time.
Who are you talking to?
Yes, that is right. Bonjour and welcome to the periodic table of crime solving. Today I will be your guide, Dion, Poirot, and welcome to this motley crew of people who have now gone into almost a Borat. But hello, and yes, welcome to the periodic table of awesome.
That slid. That really it was a smooth slide into Borat, but it happened.
It was the kind of slide that you get when you're going down a big hill and you hit a patch of shit.
Kind of. I hit a bit of black ice and did a Stephen Bradbury while my Borat came out. Yakshima is very nice.
Jesus Christ. I did warn everybody in the chat that it would be 100% shit accents tonight.
Is 100 shit accents across the board.
I did not get the memo about the shit accent.
That's okay. Neither did we. We're just making it up.
Yes, I'm sitting around thinking about all those times with my ennui. I don't know what to do.
If I were to sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger, then I sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Wait, very upset. Arnie doing a French accent though?
What's the matter? Because you pushing too many pencils.
Pencils. Pencil. How do you say pencil is Arnold Schwarzenegger Austrian French?
I don't know. He's the Austrian French. He's Belgian. He is the perfect person to play Hercule Poirot.
Hello. Yes, it's more the hello. Hello, I am Hercule Poirot, and I think it was done by the butler over by the fallen Madonna with the big boobies.
I was pissing by your window, and I thought that I would join in this podcast.
Sorry. Anyway, now that we've all joined in, how you doing there, Pete? Just sitting in the back, watching the craziness. You've just joined in this, going, "Oh God, what have I done?"
Nobody mentioned that we were doing it.
It's such a solid start, particularly for the podcast listeners who have no idea what's happening when you're just swearing at the chat.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Just yelling abuse at the chat.
Yeah, sorry, Adsky. Adsky said that I sounded entirely like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I took great umbrage at that.
Your bridge has been ummed.
Dolores.
You were so ummed.
Yes, my bridge was ummed. Pete, I'm a little disappointed that as yet we haven't heard your shit accent.
It's because I'm physically unable to do accents. If I try to do an accent, I just immediately forget how to speak.
Oh, come on, Pete. I think you've got a little certain...
Can't even do my own accent properly. How do you expect me to do other accents?
There's a certain je ne sais quoi, or as the French say, je ne sais quoi, that you will have if you just try and pull out. You've been to France. You know what people are like.
Oh, I've been to France, so obviously that means that my tongue can make the accent.
Sure.
Okay, can you say any French words?
Not well. I can say French words in a bad Australian accent, which is why when I go to France and I try to speak French to people, they immediately speak to me in English like I've offended their ears.
Yes, that's because you turn up and you go, bonjour, comment allez-vous?
I would like to go avec vous and get un croissant.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's great. Well, as the chat says, it is meant to be a shit accent, so you're allowed to attempt it at any given time.
Well, this podcast
what
is
the
gonna...
fuck are we talking about?
This podcast is now haunting my dreams, so isn't it nice that we're doing a haunting in Venice? That's right. Another Hercule Poirot mystery given to us by Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh? Kenneth Branagh.
Am I pregnant? No.
Is it Bragano or Braganano?
Yes. By Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
So this is the third in the Kenneth Branagh trilogy of Agatha Christie films.
Oh,
yeah, no, okay, I'm sorry, I'm stopping. So initially we started off with Murder on the Orient Express, and then a murder in somewhere else, and then another
death on the
Nile. We can't talk about that one because that had actual cannibal.
Shia LaBeouf.
No, not Shia LaBeouf.
I'm so sad that Army got cancelled.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Because he is
a little bit of cannibalism, okay? He was just joking about it.
No, it's not really the cannibalism. It's more the coercive control, Jill.
Oh,
yeah. There's a yeah.
The
cannibalism wasn't why you got.
Probably.
Yeah.
And this one, Hallow'een party.
Yes. That is actually very interesting because that is the original title.
Yeah.
Of the book.
Hallow'een party.
Yeah. Which we have now all seen on Disney Plus, even though it's still in cinemas somewhere around the place. Seemed to be a fairly quick turnaround from cinemas to the old Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Well, is it even really important anymore? Was this requiring of a big screen? Yeah, because I think I might have actually thrown up if I'd seen this on a big screen. Or I would have just been like, this roller coaster of a film is getting me all around the shop. I don't know where I'm going.
Sorry.
Okay, Elska, I'd just like to stop you there because we are definitely not as young as you might think we are.
Offended or not offended by that.
I do appreciate it, but it is not before our time.
So Elska Nog has popped into the chat to apologise to me and Jill to explain that Hello was a British comedy set in France during the Nazi occupation that came out before we were born. And I'm not sure how I feel about somebody assuming that I don't know what Hello is, or somebody very incorrectly assuming my age.
Well, come on. To be fair, Peter and Jill, like Quinny and I both lived through the Nazi occupation of Paris. And knew all of those people that the characters were based on. Like that was
in fact, René was based on me. No, that's not true.
Not a claim to fame that is good. Yeah.
No.
It's sweet.
So who's seen the other Poirot films?
Peter, sorry to interrupt again. It did come out 2 years before we were born. So I'll give Escanauga that one. That's fine. But
But you must understand that we grew up in the
Repeats.
90s where free-to-air television was 100% repeats in Australia. So
To be fair, when I
Yes.
had my shit mustache from like previous for Halloween and I mentioned Magnum PI, there was dead silence in the office I was in, and I'm like, "There's got anyone
no.
anyone here know
Oh.
who Magnum PI
Oh,
is?" And they're all
no.
like, "No,
Yeah,
old
bunch
man,
of
sit
Zoomers.
down." You know,
Before you hurt your hip.
yeah, they were kind of like, "I can't afford a house," and I'm like, "Joke's on you, I can't afford one either."
Oh, dear.
Yes.
Okay, anyway.
fun times.
Right.
What were you
Um,
saying, Pete?
I was asking who has seen the other Kenneth Branagh Poirot films.
I have
Me.
watched the Murder on the Orient Express, but I started watching Death on the Nile and just went, and never came back to it.
Yeah, and it's a bit. That one was a bit like that. I have to admit, the Death on the Nile. I was like, "Oh, look, Setsville."
It was definitely the last of the films to really have like a stellar cast. And I don't know what was up with that.
You
They
can
were
see
kind of
the
banking their whole shtick on it being a who's who in the
Yeah.
cast.
yeah. It's been slightly diminishing returns for each one, really, hasn't it? Like the first one was a who's who. This one's a who's that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
fu-
Or I think
fucking
I've seen
harsh.
them before in something else.
I'm going to give credit to Beck for that one. That's one of the harshest things she's ever said about a
Oh,
guest list of a convention that I've worked on.
right.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Ouch.
I feel I take umbrage for Tina Fey on this one. Like, come on,
Okay,
Don't be
Tina
like that.
Fey, great. But Michelle Yeoh fucking can do no wrong.
Yeah, that's about it.
And you're coming for Kenneth.
Oh, and Jamie Dornan, I guess.
You're coming for Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah,
You're not really. You're not here for the other people. You're there for the outrageous
Mm.
mustache.
Are you though?
Well, that's what it's sold as.
I mean, I for one, have not seen any of the Poirot films
Oh,
because
right.
I didn't want to.
Fair enough.
Fair
I also
enough.
didn't want to see this one, so I kind of didn't. Just to put that up.
Yeah, it's fair. But
Um,
we made you do it because there was just some filmic language being used to communicate what the plot is that we definitely needed you to see, and hopefully, Peter, you got to see enough of it that you could get what we were talking about.
I did. I didn't give it my full focus.
Would it help if I did
but
this?
yeah. Well, now look. Here's the thing.
and sorry, I need to talk to you much like this.
What?
Oh,
just
no, I
just-
haven't-
Oh, green screen ruined that
No.
joke.
Right.
There, merci. I am talking to you from a very strange angle.
What about like this?
Yes.
Ah.
Oh, either that or I need to have the camera attached to my chest as I turn around.
Or like
and
just
the-
from over here.
Yeah.
So many.
I feel like I
fucking-
want to turn the background off and then just someone standing behind me for half a second. Yes. Ah, look, the bathroom jump scare. Hooray! Filmic
Yeah.
language.
This
Mwah.
felt like such a 101 in how to make a horror film. It was very paint by numbers.
Yeah.
I felt this
Yeah.
wasn't really a one.
Maybe a one-on-one on how not to make a horror film.
Oh,
Perhaps.
yeah, that's probably a better way to put it.
Would you call it a
Yeah.
Would you call it a 101 course, or would you call it more of a community college course?
Oh yeah. This
Ooh.
is bridge to applied filmmaking.
Yes.
Oh dear. Does
The-
poor old Kenneth Branagh also direct these films?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh dear.
And the thing is, I think he's quite a competent director. Like you look at the first Thor, and he knew what he was doing in something that was elevated Shakespearean, with a sort of classical bent and everything. But I don't think he's a horror director.
Well, I feel like he knew what he was doing here. It just didn't work. Like,
Hmm.
I, I mean, everything is obviously a choice that has been very carefully made. It just, you can make a whole bunch of careful creative choices, and when it is as heavily stylized and in genre as this is, I think there's a number of reasons it doesn't work. But before we discuss them, do you want to tell us what it's about?
I would love to. We're not even going to ask the audience what they want the shit accent to be. Of course, it's going to be
Ooh.
Dutch. No, no.
I would pay good money to hear you do this in Dutch.
No, you wouldn't. In fact, you would be deeply, deeply disappointed.
Yes. So please,
Okay.
hit us.
Do you have the music?
There is some music playing. I've got some in the back.
French music
It's
in the background.
It's a little sad. It's a little slow. It's not very gentil.
Hang on, I need to twirl my mustache.
You got to make it upside down and back the front mustache to go at the side.
Yes. After solving the murder on the Orient Express and uncovering the culprit of the death on the Nile, we find Hercule Poirot, now retired and living in imposed exile in the world's most glamorous city, with the world's most outrageous accent. Poirot and both his mustaches reluctantly attend an ill-advised seance at a decaying, haunted palazzo. He soon gets thrust into a sinister world of shadows, secrets, and lies, where one of the guests is, how you say, murdered.
I love how you gave up on the accent there at the end because that's how
totally.
that's how I felt about the film.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I was going for. Murdered. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
is
just
what
said,
it is.
Le mort du canard.
The death of the duck.
Death of the duck.
Yeah. Where?
Où êtes-vous à pommes frites?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So here we are.
So who likes this film?
It's kind of funny because we were just about to start the show and I thought, oh fuck, I don't actually have an opinion on this movie.
I kind of do.
kind of watched it.
With this world full of
It took me 2 goes to get through it.
with this world
I
full
did
of
start watching
sequels
it,
and
but the wine hit me too hard and I'm like, I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm like, shit. I'm like, I better give up now before the ending. And then I watched
Before
it
the
again.
big explanation of who done what.
But then I watched it again and I still lost interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
It was
What
at
were you-
the deduction. They got up to the deduction. He's like doing his whole spiel, and I'm just like, "Bleh," on the floor.
exposition, and it's sorry.
Dion, what were you saying? Did you
I
like
just-
the world of this?
No, I was just like in the world that we have in cinema these days where it's just like it has to be a sequel or a multiple of films and things are coming out, or it's an established place that is already having everything, pulling Poirot out of the ether and putting it back into the world these days was kind of like, oh, that could be interesting. And, given that we could have had all of this fabulous kind of historic, like glamorized versions of things might have been interesting, but it was, apart from going, oh, wouldn't mind going to those places, none of it really made it interesting.
Yeah, it was like, oh, we're going to set this one in Venice, but it's all going to be in one house, and it's going to be in the dark, and you're
So
not
it
going to
could be
see
fucking
anything.
anywhere.
I mean,
Yeah.
kudos to them getting some fucking spectacular shots of Venice, but I feel like that even though it was set in Venice, it still didn't show you enough of Venice like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade showed you great places around Venice. This one was just like, it's set in Venice, in this building, during a storm.
At night.
At night.
Yeah. And we're gonna keep it all very, very tightly within about 5 rooms.
Yes, we spent all of our location budget on this one a rooftop terrace that has a pretty good view, and that's all we're using. The rest of it is inside.
We're going to have a few shots outside of bobbing boats and a thing that looked like 3 wooden penises tied together that
Sure.
breaks halfway through the movie. And I was like, what the fuck is that? It took me a while to realize it was a thing for tying boats up to, but
Yeah.
I did
To
just
me,
look
it
at
was
it,
just so dark and wet and
but not in a
yeah.
fun way. It was like a,
I've got to say, if I had been cast in A Haunting in Venice, I would have been fucking stoked because I would have been like, fuck yeah, free trip to Venice. And then had I found out that it was literally just 3 of the cast members that got to go to the exterior shots of Venice, I would have been like, son of a bitch.
yeah.
I thought I could go to Venice.
And the funny thing is, like, it's the book that it's based on is one called Halloween Party, like you brought up, Dion. And the Halloween Party is set in a little British town of Woodley Common. And, you know, it's very fucking safe Agatha Christie territory of small town murder. It was one of the ones that got turned into the Poirot series back in the 90s, 80s or 90s with David Suchet, one of them. Anyway, and I kind of looked it up because I thought, okay, if it's based on Agatha Christie, let's see who's had a shot at it before. And I read the synopsis of the TV show, and I was like, oh, it's a bit bloody small town, isn't it? Tiny little town, and a girl says that she remembers witnessing a murder when she was a kid, and then by the end of the Halloween party, she's drowned in a apple bobbing bucket.
Oh.
Yeah. So when they go like,
so they took a lot of
based,
liberties with that story.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds small town. And then I read about the book, and I was like, oh, small town. So they've taken a lot of liberties with this, and they've, you know, used character names here and there, and a whole bunch of, you know, I guess parts of it, but I hadn't realized how much like massive liberty was being taken with the original stories. So I guess this is why people enjoy this, because I was thinking, if this is just a retelling of Agatha Christie's stories, have we not done these like a million times before? But apparently not.
Now here's the I think problem with that. I don't like murder mysteries as a genre. It's never not my thing. It's why I haven't watched any of these films. I mean, I feel like the closest I've ever like come to like enjoying like a serious murder mystery is like Murder, She Wrote. You know?
Oh yeah.
Watching as a kid on TV in the 90s.
What about Diagnosis Murder, Pete?
No, nothing. No, just never.
But
been
Jessica
into it.
Fletcher, you were there for the harbinger of death to tiny small towns everywhere.
I always
watching it at Nana and Pa's house. You know,
I always used to think of like Murder, She Wrote was just the crucible for the 80s. So it's just that witch hunt thing where she was just wandering around going, you did it, you murdered someone, arrest them, and then walks off to the next town, and you did it, you murdered someone, and just a trail of wrongly convicted people out the back.
But here's the thing with all genres, like, you know, and particularly murder mysteries, is they run by a formula. I actually personally don't understand how formulaic murder mystery TV series even exist without people just getting so sick of the formula that they like just can't have. I mean, even Poker Face, I was like struggling by episode 3, like, you know, adoring a lot of things about it, but that very kind of specific murder mystery formulaic approach do not like. And my first encounter with Agatha Christie was actually via, you know, a satirical take on it. You know, so my first encounter with this kind of thing was Tom Stoppard's The Real Inspector Hound. And the fun thing that kind of happens in the evolution of the genre, obviously, is, you know, somebody eventually takes those formulas and turns them on their head and turns them into comedy, points out exactly how ridiculous they are, and everyone kind of has fun with that for a while. And then eventually somebody else really clever comes along and finds a way to kind of refresh the genre and bring it back to something that's a little bit new and a little bit fresh. What I kind of feel like has happened here is the opposite of that, where we've kind of gone, let's just like lean into all the most ridiculous formulaic things about this, both plot-wise, character-wise, and cinematic approach, but make it serious. Like, was it a because
also to be fun and interesting, let's use the mocap camera on Kenneth.
Just strap it to his chest and set him down the stairs.
It just kind of felt to me like it leaned so heavily into the genre that it, like, I honestly don't get it.
Is it a bit like it was
felt
bobbing?
Like a parody.
Is it felt like it was bobbing for apples, but kind of drowned?
It felt like a parody, but not but wasn't a parody. Am I correct in saying it wasn't supposed to be a parody? Right? This was a serious take on murder mystery, and yet every single frame of it reads to my brain like a parody. And this is where it has failed for me.
I mean, did it not?
I do want to call out Dion. I appreciated your bobbing for apples metaphor.
Yeah, sure.
It didn't get the love that it deserved 10 seconds ago.
But it got the aggrieved look from the people that I know. It just went. Oh, so my work is done. I was going to say, like, this thing on paper was actually quite well, it would have been good, which is lots of creepy kids, potential ghosts, some good actors that were in there, and not a bad setting for, this kind of stuff. And it just ended at, like, come on. It's like, oh, yeah, an old orphanage where all the kids died. I'm like, great. That's fucking, Thriller 101.
Yeah, they did a better job of doing Five Nights at Freddy's than Five Nights at
Freddy's. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, you're still bitter about that one. That was Halloween. That's a whole week ago.
Yeah, I'm still bitter about it because I'm out of the two. I'm not sure which was the more parody of a horror genre. Like neither of them was successful. Let me tell you. This one, I think you're right, Pete. Like I did struggle with it quite a bit. That like you, Jill, I had to take a few runs at it to get through it. And at one point I realized I'd fallen asleep during a bit. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to go back. And I did. And I was like, oh, yeah, oh, well, I didn't miss much, did I? There's like the characters to me didn't feel as interesting or deeply drawn as something like, for example, Knives Out. Like we've seen, in recent years, some really good murder mysteries, like some good twisty turny, fun murder mysteries, and then you get something like this that feels really paint by numbers.
I mean, I still think Kenneth Branagh has as a better accent than Foghorn Leghorn from Knives Out. Like, let's be honest.
The beautiful difference between the two is one is very obviously a parody, and the other is Knives Out.
No, it's just dumb.
Just dumb.
Yeah, it's true. You're right there, Jill. It's like that is a parody which has a fun story behind it. This is a serious.
It's able to look at the genre and pull out all the stupidity of it, poke all the holes and all the fun at it, and have an amazing time, and still construct an interesting story and give you a payoff at the end. But this, I'm just like, I was bored the whole time. And then by the time the deduction came around at the end and the actual killer was revealed, I'm like, that's so boring.
See, I think the problem is that Agatha Christie is built for people who want a tiny thrill that doesn't make them late for tea.
That you could have your thrill whilst having a cup of tea and a biscuit.
Yes, rather than like it's there to scare anyone. Like, I don't think anyone's putting an Agatha Christie book down going, oh my God, I just need a minute.
So the question is, how are those people going to feel about the angles?
They never liked the Dutch, basically, is what they came out with.
I think that there'll be a lot of people who would be like, oh, it was very artistic. Like if you're playing to the Blue Rinse crowd, which I think, if you're going for the Agatha Christie crowd who love the Miss Marple murders and love Poirot with David Suchet in it, then they're probably going to be like, oh, this was a bit out there.
So someone who's got a qualification in film, not me, please explain what we're talking about when we're talking about a Dutch tilt or a Dutch angle.
Okay.
Someone.
Peter.
Yeah.
You're the filmmaker.
Perhaps the Emmy winner.
You just get the camera low and tilt it. just get it low and put it at a weird angle, and you got yourself a Dutch tilt.
Yes, but why?
Yes,
because the Dutch did it.
That's her line.
No, they didn't. It was invented by the Germans. The Dutch comes from the word Deutsch.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
But what is it supposed to? What is
that.
it supposed to convey?
Yes.
It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable as an audience member looking at the shot.
Yes.
Which is like well done in this. Like if that's the intention.
Except when it's done frame after frame after frame after frame after frame after.
I mean, to be fair, they weren't all Dutch tilts. A lot of them were just extreme low angles and extreme high angles for no good reason.
There were a lot of fisheye.
A way that didn't make sense.
There were at least seven of those angles within the opening 10 minutes that I was just like, yes, we get it. It's a creepy fucking place.
Yeah, but like also really drab looking scenery, like dirty pigeons on stone, all shot in grey, and a seagull eating a pigeon. And I'm like, okay, I get that this is supposed to be a metaphor for whatever shit story you're trying to tell, but this is like so art school project.
I haven't seen this many Dutch tilts since Battlefield Earth. And that's only going to make sense to the 10 people who have watched Battlefield Earth, with infinite options for renewal.
Yes.
But I've never seen a film that delighted so much in every single shot being on another angle, and you're just going, why? What do you like? As you say, the intent is to make the audience feel like they're off kilter, like, and that you're looking at people who the world is not straight and everything is on a funny angle to them. But if the whole fucking film does that, then there's nothing to compare it to. I got bored with looking, as you say, at somebody trying to do their film school shit.
Yeah. But look, here's like, I mean, that is the thing. There are elements of this that do kind of feel like either, a film student making a murder mystery, or like Saturday Night Live doing their take on a murder mystery. And it wasn't just like, yes, there were too many Dutch tilts. There were some extreme angles. But the things that bother me most are just the regular shit that's just not quite right. So, cutting from one mid shot to an identically sized mid shot from a different angle, for no good reason, creating a jump cut. Like, why? That's not a deliberate, artistic choice. That's just like a bit shit. Like, there's line
you
crossing.
Didn't get enough coverage.
Yes, we didn't get the right coverage. The bits that I didn't even like properly sit down and fully watch the film, but the bits that I saw like line crossing. There were lots of like cutaways to things that were making noise, but for no good reason. Like, we didn't actually need to like see the item that was making the noise there, particularly at the end. Like, there's a shot, of two characters talking, cutting between mid shots of the two characters, and then like the boat starts, so you hear the engine start, and then you just get like this close up of just the canal water like bubbling up because the boat engine has started for no good reason. And then you cut back to one of their faces, like, we didn't need to cut to that unattractive shot of the canal water. Like, hearing the boat engine stuff would have told that story.
You don't need a picture for every Foley that's in a fucking
and it wasn't actually the weird amount of odd angles that upset me. It was the kind of straight stuff that was put together in a way that doesn't make sense for somebody who knows how to make a film, which Kenneth Branagh obviously does. That's the shit that got to me.
Yeah. It felt oddly ham-fisted, and which is bizarre considering the filmmaker. Like, I was looking to see if I could see who the editor was, because I don't know whether there was a different editor on it or something like that, but no director who's really knows their shit would have let something like this go out, unless. And I honestly do think it may be the thing that Branagh is just not au fait with the language of horror.
Yeah, I mean, Karina in the chat has just made a really good point that she got the impression that some of the cuts were done as jump scares. And I do agree that some of them were definitely intended to be jump scares, but there was absolutely zero that was scary about this film.
Yeah, well, I mean, apart from the one where, in the bathroom, there's a drowned person behind you.
Yeah,
the good old one. So just pull that one out.
Everybody knows there's going to be something in the mirror when you stand up.
I mean, look,
so dumb.
In
I was
terms-
waiting for like something to come out of the sink when he stuck his head down there. I was like, oh yeah. Now get in there.
In terms of cool shit that like I thought there were a couple of good deaths in it that I really did enjoy.
Okay.
Which
Can we talk about them in spoilers?
Yeah, I'll explain more because it's just the people who die that you're like, but they died in that way that I was like, nice.
Yeah, there was a cool one.
Yeah, there's one good death that I could definitely put my finger to. I do think we were talking before about the sort of diminishing returns of Branagh's Poirot films. You know, the first one, Murder on the Orient Express, was fucking star-studded. This one, like, I thought Michelle Yeoh was great.
Yeah.
For what she was there for. But I don't know, like it didn't feel like it really had that depth of characters.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah,
really
a lot
sort
of the cast seemed to be very secondary characters and not, like a prime suspect kind of lineup of characters. So there wasn't really a lot to play with. Everyone just kind of had like their small moment of being questioned, and then that was it.
Their small exposition moment, which is like the reason that I don't like murder mysteries, because the entire thing is just like this person does exposition, and then this person does exposition, and this person does exposition, and then here's an obvious red herring, and then there's some more exposition. And then we're going to really lead you to believe that it's definitely this person, but at the very last minute, we're going to be like, oh, wait, it's actually this person.
And reveal the thing that was in front of you all along, but it wasn't actually really obviously in front of you. And in fact, you probably couldn't have possibly have worked it out because only somebody who was in that actual person could have seen it. This is one of the things that I always get, shirty about, is that so often murder mysteries rely on the magical, detection powers of the detective. But more often than not, what they are is them seeing things that we're not shown.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
Things that nobody could possibly put those things together.
Yeah, I feel like the failure of a murder mystery is not allowing your audience to actually be in the shoes of your detective. So if you're not given the same allowances as the detective is to try and solve the mystery by the end of the film, then the film's really doing a disservice to you because it's just spoon feeding you an entire story. It's not allowing you to be part of it and work it out, which I think is what the whole genre is about.
Absolutely. And each of those interrogation scenes should be, for you as the viewer or reader or whatever, your opportunity to, kind of play detective and try and work out what is true, what is not, and put together clues.
Yeah. Unfortunately, going to bring it back to a Knives Out comparison again, but the beautiful thing about that film is like you get everybody's story from their perspective and you're shown it as well as if you had been in that moment with them. And then you can actually see, oh, wait, there's an inconsistency here and an inconsistency there because you're being allowed to solve the murder.
Yeah, you're being able to put those things together, whereas this one is like, and I deduced that this happened. It's like, but there was nothing in that would mean that you've just made up a thing that fits your narrative. There's no explanation for that.
Yeah. And I mean, the worst murder mysteries do that. Like there is no shortage of shit murder mysteries in the world that do that whole thing where they just do
Quinny,
the whole
you said you
exposition
liked my play.
But in terms of genre, there have been, aside from Knives Out, like the murder mystery genre is still around. And there are people, trying to walk some different and interesting lines with it, Poker Face being one of them. After Party on Apple TV being another kind of interesting take on that, very on the genre, but I love the way it plays with other genres. So, it's like, there are clever ways to deal with the restraints of the genre. But I just think that this was like a very traditional by the numbers way, which makes me not really see the point of it, which is, I know, mean when I don't really like the genre in the first place.
How dare you? Should we do a rating then, and then go to a clip and come back and talk about it in spoilery time? Because, like, let's be honest, if you wanted to go and see this, you would have seen this in the cinema already, or you can just watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, you can go and watch it now, and
don't watch
make
it
sure that
now. You got
put
to
your
watch us.
TV. Put your TV on a funny angle,
Yeah,
and then
so
it'll
that-
at least be straight half the time.
I will start. While I have actually enjoyed Kenneth Branagan's his attempts to do like breathe life into Poirot, I thought he had a little bit more fun with the other ones, and this one felt like he really didn't know where he was where he was sitting at. Like, it's hard to have the depth of a character, especially one that looks the same in all of the films. Like, he's supposed to be retired now and getting towards the end of his career and getting away from stuff. And it's like, well, why aren't you showing all of the interesting cases or stuff? But he just looks the same. So you don't really know. And he doesn't look like he's at retirement age. And he still does weird things like always trying to get the egg. And that's kind of fun. But in this one, it was just, he had too much to do and not enough substance to chew on it. So even though he tried real hard. I'm going to give it a 55 because it was probably the worst one that I've seen of these Death on, or, you know, new ones, even with actual Cannibal Army Hammer. You know, that one coming out. But yeah, I was a bit bored by this one. It just had, you know, good cast, nice people in it. I quite enjoyed it. I got excited about Venice and then realized it was all shot inside. And I was like, oh, well, this is a bit dull. Better be creepy. And it wasn't really. It's not creepy. It's not scary at all. Someone says, should I show this to a 12-year-old? I'd be like, sure. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm going to go around there too. I'm going to say 50 because I'm really on the fence about it. It's just like there wasn't really anything groundbreaking about it, and I didn't enjoy it. I mean, it was a struggle to get through. And again, at the ending, I lost interest. It was just like, okay, you're obviously trying to do horror within the murder mystery, but none of this is remotely frightening.
Sorry, one of the things I just wanted to say, I just realized that this whole thing was built around an idea of Halloween, except they definitely have Carnivale in Venice, which would have made way more fucking sense.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like they were trying to cash in on it coming out at Halloween, but they would have had to have planned this months in advance. But anyway,
Sorry, Jill.
yeah, Poirot didn't even feel like the lead character in his film. He was just kind of another background character. There was nobody really leading the charge except for maybe Tina Fey, but then except when they turned the tables on her and started accusing her of being the murderer at one point. And it's like, oh, is anybody just going to like step up and take charge of like leading this film, because everybody's just kind of playing too evenly. Yeah, it was a strange one.
Yeah. Pete, you're recusing yourself, are you?
I'm recusing myself. Honestly, it's a genre that I don't like, and I didn't even watch the film properly, so I don't think it's fair to give it a number.
Just rate it, you coward. Oh, who said that? Oh my God, it must be from the chat.
Wow, the chat's vocal now. Oh no.
Yeah, that was scary.
Oh, no.
It was scarier than anything in this film.
I care about the integrity of our ratings, guys.
Sorry.
You're probably the only one.
Our fickle and arbitrary system is safe with me.
Okay. Look, I was uninterested. I wanted to like them because I do enjoy the occasional good murdery mystery and stuff like that, and I like a good spooky story. And the first 10 minutes of it, I thought, oh yeah, we're doing a bit of cool shadow puppet stuff, and maybe we're going to get some cool, you know, real creepy stuff in the catacombs of Venice that I don't think has catacombs.
It's all underwater, mate.
You know, but that'd be cool. Hang on, no, it does, because Indiana Jones went down into one.
That was a sewer.
Whatever. Shut up. It's full of shit anyway. But there was none of that, and it was boring. And as you say, Poirot was kind of boring, and not even his northern mustache or his southern or eastern mustaches could save this film. For me,
what happened to the puppeteer guy? that was telling that story?
Oh, he's dead now.
I want to know who
clearly
that was, because I really just had this weird feeling that it was like Sam Rockwell or somebody just in a mask doing this story, and I'm like, oh, he's going to pop up later and stir up mischief, and
no.
no.
Yeah, 58 for me. And I don't even really know why I'm giving it the 8, other than I feel like it was pretty occasionally. Like there were some nice shots here and there, but also it was messy and ham-fisted and dumb. Okay, let's go and look at a clip of this, and we'll come back and talk about it in spoilers. Because spoilers, why not? Dion, what is that clip? Is it cool?
I must tell you, madam, I have been all my life uncharmed by your kind.
My kind?
Opportunists who prey on the vulnerable, no?
You don't believe in the soul's endurance after death?
I have lost my faith.
How sad for you.
Yes, it is most sad. The truth is sad.
Please understand, madam, I would welcome with open arms any honest sign of devil or demon or ghost. For if there is a ghost, there is a soul. If there is a soul, there is a God who made it. And if we have God, we have everything, meaning, order, justice. But I have seen too much of the world. Countless crimes, 2 wars, the bitter evil of human indifference. And I conclude, no God, no ghosts. With respect, no mediums who can speak to them.
You were saying?
Yes, we do say, don't we? That's right. You were
Peter.
saying Michelle Yeoh just being great up until wait a second. Gotta get the
Spoiler logo.
Spoiler logo up. It's come up with Quinny today. Okay, great. All right, yes. We're going spoiler logo is now up until Michelle Yeoh got absolutely ham-fisted.
Whoa!
Hey, or angel
Ouch.
fisted? What was
Yeah,
that?
it was
Is it like a Madonna or a Mary or something?
Yeah, I
She
love
is
it.
now the fallen Madonna with
Yeah.
the pierced boobies.
I really like that one because it did a pretty good tumble, and then it kept going, and it was like, oh wow, she got impaled on the statue. Nice.
Yeah.
I was like,
that was good death. I appreciated that
Yeah.
death.
yeah.
And then it made me start wondering about the science behind it. And I'm like, could that hand actually pierce someone's body? Like, would it not break with the force of the impact?
When you're wondering
first,
about the
or-
science behind the impaling, the movie's lost you.
Maybe it's made out of bronze and it therefore has more tensile
Yeah,
strength than
see?
plastic.
I mean, to be fair, it wouldn't be the first time I've wondered about the science of an impaling in a film.
Well, yes.
Sure, but I mean, that one I could literally understand, whereas the rest of them, I'm like, oh no, she fell into the canal.
And drowned.
Did she drown? Like, I mean,
My favorite one was in The Quick and the Dead, where a character is shot in a duel, and you can see this on his shadow. The perfect round bullet hole is like the sunlight shining through.
Yes.
I don't think that's how bullet holes work.
I
But
mean, that's how it works in Dragon Ball Z when you go fist through someone's guts and then there's the big circle.
yeah, totally.
that's
I
just
do have
normal.
I do have a question with this one,
Do
and that
you?
is like it's. I mean, obviously, a lot of the cinematic techniques that are being used here are clearly intended to hark back to vintage horror films
Yeah.
and noirish style things, very much like what Werewolf by Night did. Why did it not annoy us in Werewolf by Night, but it did annoy us here?
Because I think Werewolf by Night wears its genre on its sleeve. It says we are doing
Horror,
what's the-
hammer horror.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We're doing hammer horror, and we're going to play to the cheap seats, and we're not pretending to be highbrow, and we're
No.
not pretending to be art. We're being a scary, fun, spooky werewolf flick with some monsters and some dumb hunters and stuff like that. Whereas this is saying,
to put it simply, the tone, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jill, for
The intention, the tone
cutting
and
down,
intention. Yeah.
cutting down all of my babbling bullshit into one word.
It's the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vibes were off.
The vibes were off.
And it's funny. My phone tried to update last night. Nah. Sorry, bro. I couldn't do it. Vibe was wrong.
Vibes wrong.
Vibe was wrong.
I think that's probably it. Like that. It's the intent. It's the intent of what the film sets out to be, and I think this sets out to be a classy horror inflected murder mystery.
Yeah.
But in using all of those that cheap, shitty filmic language, it turns itself into not that at all.
Yeah.
I felt that there were some characters who got royally fucking shafted out of a decent storyline.
Yeah, there's
Jamie Dornan's character.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good actors in there, but it's just got nothing.
There was so much more to his character that just was not explored and completely written off as just being PTSD. Especially the relationship with him and his son. Because I was like, okay, tell me more about this. Like, where's the mother? Why is it a father-son relationship? What's going on here? Tell me the complexities. I'm digging this. I love the caring nature between these two characters. Fuck that.
Yeah, no, you don't get any of that.
And there was a lot of the housekeeper, which I didn't enjoy.
There was
Olga?
too much of the housekeeper.
I was like,
because I was like, okay, well, where's the ex-fiance that is supposedly, in question? And there was like very little kind of exposition, as Peter loves, around like where he came from and what he was up to. Like they kind of just said, oh yeah, he's a gold digger. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, we really didn't get any kind of characteristics from that guy that he was that kind of person.
Yeah.
No.
And look, I got to tip my hat to Kelly Riley in this, because I was watching and going, oh, it's that American from Yellowstone. And then I was like, wait, no, she's English. Shit. She's doing a better job in Yellowstone convincing me she's American than she is playing her native language.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
But also, like, when you get to the final reveal stuff, I felt like I didn't feel like that was earned even. Like, it's like, oh, okay, right, yeah, so this person has been doing this, and like, yeah, I don't know, it felt anticlimactic at every single turn.
At least I learned something.
Yeah.
Like, do not plant those flowers next to the honey or you're going to have a bad time. Like bees, things, like if you're going to make bees. But then it's also me like, I might keep that and be like, don't eat that honey. And you're like, why? It's like, just shut up.
Yeah, and then you get other characters that are sort of introduced, but they're barely even a red herring. They're a red pilchard. Riccardo Scamasio, who's Vitale Pogroflogli.
The bodyguard guy?
Portfoglio, yeah, bodyguard guy, who's throughout the entire film is sort of thrown up as barely a red herring. He's like, oh, is this guy a possibility? No.
But
okay, why did you mention it then?
He was cool. I like that guy. I want to see him be more hardcore. But the rest of it was just like, oh, he's totally underutilized.
Yep.
Oh, well.
Yeah, there's a lot of this film. There was a whole bunch of characters being totally underutilized.
And Tina Fey not like really believable as a kind of backstabbing, conniving American. Because she's just a comedy. She's felt more comedy. It's like, I'm branching out. It's like, really?
Yeah, and the lightness of some of her jokes throughout it, I think added to that feeling of, is this a parody? If you're not taking it seriously, why should we? Yeah. And the point where Jamie Dornan eventually does buy the farm, like you're kind of hoping for a good death there, but that was
such a whimper, and it honestly was so disappointing too, to kill that character. I'm like,
yeah,
because when you find out who the murderer is, you're like, you fucking bitch, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, what was the point?
Yeah. just wanted to.
Jill, don't you know that bitches be cray?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. It's always the mother.
And that's the funny thing, isn't it? Like, this is essentially an entire story that is, well, bitches be cray. You know?
It wasn't even like she accidentally killed her daughter and then tried to cover it up or anything. It was just like, this happened.
Well,
I just got sick of it.
though technically Olga accidentally killed her daughter and
See, I wasn't even listening at the end. This is how much I did not care.
You didn't get like the final like deduction of what actually happened.
No, I was playing a phone game. I told you. They got to the deduction. And I was like, oh yeah, it was the mother. And she fed the poison honey or something. And then I'm like,
But the good news is Jill's now level 29 in Bubble Bobble Legends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I don't think that no one will like this film.
Oh no, my mum
I think
loved
people
it.
will probably
Yeah. I actually think this film will find its mark with its intended audience. I just don't know that we're its intended audience.
No, it's definitely the tea and shortbread biscuit on a Sunday afternoon kind of. Oh, that's thrilling, just thrilling enough. Not too much to get my heart rate up though. You know, it's fine.
Yeah, but also it hasn't rated particularly well on the grand scale either. It's sitting at a 6.6 on IMDb, and I haven't had a look at the tomato meter. Not that any of these things really fucking matter a toss anyway.
No, those ratings don't matter, but ours do.
Nothing means anything except for our arbitrary and fickle system.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I think it probably, you're right. It'll play to a particular crowd, and there's probably that crowd who will go, oh, it was so edgy. And to them I say, oh, let me show you some edgy films, Gran. Got one called Itchy the Killer that you're going to be fucking learning some shit from.
No,
Do you want to see some impaling? I've got Final Destination for you.
Yeah. Yeah, never drive next to a semi the same way again ever. That's the sort of thing you want. Well, I mean, look, do you feel haunted by Venice? I don't really feel haunted by Venice.
What are we watching instead then?
What should we?
You know, in terms of can you guys bring me into the murder mystery fold? Have you got like favorites that I should be watching instead of forcing myself to watch
a favorite murder
Kenneth
mystery?
Branagh?
I mean, nothing that's entirely groundbreaking. I mean, I just love the formula of the murderer of the week from stuff like Midsummer Murders and Diagnosis Murder and those old, silly ones from like the 90s. But I mean, even these days, like a police procedural is really just a murder mystery.
Yes, that's why I hate them too.
Yeah. But I mean, I really think that Rian Johnson is doing a good job of turning the genre into something a little bit more entertaining and thought-provoking.
Look, I mean, in terms of murder mysteries, and this might be a bit old, you might have already seen them, so Pete, you might have already gone, but I'd go the Park Chan-wook Vengeance trilogy.
Oh, yes.
It's great.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you haven't seen it before and you don't know anything about it,
so you got Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance,
Yep.
Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, and
Old Boy.
Memories of Murder, is it?
No, Old Boy.
Old Boy. Is that part of the trilogy?
Yep.
Ah.
I think that it's Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and then Old Boy and then Sympathy for Lady Vengeance is kind of a loose narrative grouping together of them. But those ones are a great whodunit if you don't know that beforehand.
Yeah. Recently we saw See How They Run with Sam Rockwell and Saoirse Ronan. That was kind of a
kind
whodunit.
of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That was good fun. I enjoyed that.
I like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I feel like that's getting into noir. I like noir.
Yeah, but like noirs, well.
There are crossovers for sure.
I watched one recently that I was, recently last year, that I was surprised by because it came out of fucking nowhere and nobody talked about it. It's called Confess Fletch. So the Fletch movies Yeah, they were Chevy Chase vehicles back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then there was one that came out called Fletch One, and I can't remember who was in that. I'm just looking it up.
But the Confess Fletch was John Hamm, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, yeah, Confess Fletch came out of nothing. Like, nobody had really sort of heard about it being released. And then, yeah, John Hamm shows up as this sort of private detective character, Fletch. And it's like, that's
It's
actually
not bad, actually.
weirdly fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, kind of worth a look.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find who
This
was
is,
in Fletch
I love the
One.
sorry, I just love the dark attitude of the chat that has just gone off on a tangent in there, which is great because it's like, yes, I want to find that small town where people keep dying because house prices are not so good. Lots of deceased estate sales, so you'd be able to afford something there. I'm like, yes, I like that. I'll move to New England
because like half the time in Midsummer, it's the old biddies that are knocking people off too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, after suffering through patriarchy for the 80s and the 70s and the 60s, I'd be
This is how they
poisoning
get
people
their
too.
own back.
Yeah. Poisonous.
Yeah. I reckon you should go on a murder mystery trip through the ages and go back and check out a little bit of Murder, She Wrote. And see
Peter's
whether Jessica...
wonderful murder mystery tour.
It's the murdery mystery tour is coming to take you to.
No, they came up with that in the chat earlier. Murder Busters, like when's that TV show happening? Which is like, I saw this murder in a film or a television show, and I don't think that would actually kill someone.
And we're going to watch the shit out of that.
And we're going to recreate that now.
Well, a bit like Mythbusters.
Yeah. Murder Busters. I like
that.
There you go.
Fuck, I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah, it would answer the question on whether the stone arm would actually impale someone or break.
But you would also like actually find out just how delicate human beings are.
Yeah.
It would just be like, you wouldn't even need to do that.
Yeah. No, you basically, if you get caught in the kidney by a pointy piece of rock, it'll pierce your kidney, and whether you die straight away or not, you're fucked.
Oh, actually, that'd be the one. It's like, would that? You remember the bit from Hot Fuzz where he gets the spire of that model through his lip? It's like, would that have killed him or not? It would have been like, ow.
I feel like you guys are just like devising like a murder instructional show at the moment, and I'm not sure how I feel about it.
I feel like you need to get on board with this, Peter, because you are the industry.
Yes.
I'm relying on you and your contacts to make Murder Busters happen.
Yeah. Actually,
if you're not pitching this within the next year, you're not our real friend.
Wow.
Well, watch this space. We are diversifying.
Yes.
Yes. There you go.
So as long as can I have a little bit of
Yeah.
a clip there, which is like within Murder Busters, it's just Murder He Wrote, where I rewrite like injuries or murders to actually be effective. I just go back in there and be like, actually, if you use this, it would kill them.
I think this is wow. I feel like you were here tonight, everybody in the chat.
Sure.
And everybody
Don't
listening to the
steal it.
podcast.
Don't steal our idea.
Yeah, copyright.
Yeah. If something comes out in the next 6 months, we're going to know it was somebody
you were
who
listening.
stole our idea.
And Peter knows.
We're gonna
She knows
sue
this is
you.
how that works.
Elska Norga, I know that you are writing this shit down right now and sending it off to Netflix as we speak.
If we say it out loud, it can't happen.
Adsky, I'm watching you. This is copyright. Copyright.
Also, Facebook doesn't have the rights to any of my photos, no matter.
I'm reposting this. So
Speaking of reposting, what are we doing this month? Because I just noticed that the schedule that I didn't do hasn't gone out. That's why it didn't go. But Quinny did one. I think.
I did one.
Yeah.
And
put
it will go out probably mañana.
Because no one knew that we were doing Murder in Venice this week. I know we were. We
No.
did.
I as per usual, I got a message from Adsky middle of the day yesterday on Twitter, just going, "What are we reviewing this week?"
Yeah.
Isn't it fun?
He was in the chat saying, "Hey guys, let's try and work out the schedule. Here's some dates. Here's some suggestions. Anyone want to fill in the rest?"
It's true.
Chirp, chirp, chirp.
No.
Fun that we've created this format that's literally half spoilers, and then don't tell people what they need to watch before they come and chat with us about it.
Ooh, spoilers!
Literally, the schedule could have been out before the weekend, but it didn't happen.
Hey, I was in hospital.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking by it.
And I don't have one. I just don't have one. I actually think I think I just had white noise.
Okay, coming up next
tell
week.
Tell our fans what we're going to do this week. Next week.
Tuesday the 14th, we are looking at the next big release of the Marvel calendar that we're trying to get excited for.
Big,
the next release. Big release of The Marvels.
Wait, Quinny, let me get a
French
pen.
version.
We are doing the Marvels.
Marvels.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
getting that one down. All right.
Yep. Which I do have some opinions about, which we will talk about next week, just for the ads alone. Tuesday the 21st, we are looking at The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is a very long title to try and fit on anything.
Yeah, just what I wanted to see, a fucking prequel to a series of movies that I was less enthused about. Sorry, am I saying the quiet part out loud?
Oh, Dion.
Dion, if I have to watch things that I don't want to watch, then you have to watch things that you don't want to watch.
There better be Dutch tilts.
Hard target on Golden Pond, Dion. Hard target on Golden Pond. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, my friend.
Still a very excellent double feature in case you were looking for just a bit of juxtaposition in your viewing schedule.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
And then at the end of the month, on the 28th of November, we are looking at Monarch Legacy of Monsters. There should be about 3 episodes out of that. It's the new series that is set in the Monarch monster universe that incorporates Kong and Godzilla and Kong Skull Island and a whole bunch of other what's the Godzilla one that was all of the monsters in it? Was it King of the Monsters?
Yes.
Where it was Godzilla versus like Ghidorah and fucking Rodan and all of them. And
that
then
most recent one?
I thought the most recent one was Godzilla versus Kong.
No, I don't fucking know.
Anyway, it's big fucking monsters beating the shit out of each other, and I'm there for it.
Yeah.
On TV, though.
I want to see this new Godzilla one that's coming out next month.
Oh, yeah. So that's Godzilla -1, which is the first Godzilla film to come out of Japan since, I want to say 2016? Shin Godzilla or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. Looks fucking cool. Very excited for that. And somewhere in the future, we've got another Godzilla film too. Go figure.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to do your homework on that, there's apparently an animated series of Skull Island on Netflix as well that is tied into the Monarch universe.
Isn't there another Godzilla anime at the moment?
There's an anime, yes. There's a couple of animes that I don't think are tied in at all. They're more through Toei. And yeah, I do find it weird. It's like there's the Western Godzilla, and then there's everything that Toei owns, and never the twain shall meet.
Oh, we're doing this as a ramp up towards Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, right?
Is that the next film?
We should just make December Godzilla month. Because I don't want to talk about Christmas movies.
It's due out in April next year, which is not that far away because we're almost at New Year's.
Shut up.
Yeah, I know,
Why would
right?
you say that?
Yeah. Just remember, it was only 5 years ago. It was 2019.
Oh God, that really hurts. That really hurts.
My kidney is actually hurting right now.
Yeah,
It's like I've been stabbed.
2004 is almost 20 years ago.
Don't.
Jesus Christ, man.
Just don't.
Is anyone going to kick Dion off this call?
Yeah, I think I can boot him.
Yeah, that's going to be a real interesting thing as the stream goes dead.
It'll be worth it, Dion. It'll be worth it for that.
Yes.
Even in the chat. Shut up, Dion. Shutting up, sir.
You're making us all feel old.
Yes.
Yeah. So, do you know Magnum PI?
Funnily enough, it's this little TV series before your time.
Yeah, I used to watch it just after watching Hello, Hello on a Friday night.
That reminds me, there was a show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, probably before your time. But
I wish I was that young.
Oh my God.
Fuck.
Right.
Anyway, let's go.
Thank you for joining us. You've all been lovely. Thank you for enjoying our idiot talk of a film that none of us really gave a shit about.
Don't say that, Quinny. It's a lovely talk that we had. You've all learned something, which is you may or may not like A Haunting in Venice, which I did
We
not.
have to review a stinker every now and again.
Yeah, stunker.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to the Marvels. That won't stink. And neither will the Hunger Games prequel, and neither will the Monarch TV show.
I really want the Marvels to be good, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're not doing Loki. Because no one's watching Loki.
Oh, I think a lot of people are watching it, and there are a lot of people fucking disappointed by it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
guys, we're going to go and raid Barjo
Yeah,
because
raid
he's
Barjo.
playing Lords of the Fallen.
Sure. Why not?
yeah.
See you all next week.
Thanks, everybody.
I wanna live in a world full of heroes, not sit here counting zeros in a cubicle downtown. I wanna look out my window, see 'em flying, and swing across the horizon as I cheer 'em on so proud. Deep-powered girl keeps staring at her face, and call Colossus and have him teach me ways, and then we'd exercise. I'd be one of the guys